Free trial. Cancel anytime.
We love chatting with people on Get Down to Business, people that are making an impact, entrepreneurs, business owners, professionals, because we get to share so much tips, advice, and information with our listeners. So next up on the program, we've got Angelo Passalacqua joining me, and you are an entrepreneur. I've heard some great things about the work that you're doing. Welcome to Get Down to Business.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing. You're an interesting line of work, one that I have to say we haven't heard much about on this program so far, but you work with interesting people. You do you provide an interesting service. Tell us about your business.
Sure. So I work at a company called Burg Translations, and Burg Translations is a technical foreign language translations company. And so we specialize in the legal industry, life sciences industry, publishing, so things like books, finance, manufacturing, and advertising. So our main role is we facilitate globalization in a way. Clients tend to use our services when they are growing internationally. They want to reach broader markets. And so we translate their content into various languages.
Very interesting. Are there any specific industries that you found have just been benefiting from your work and your translating services?
Yeah. So in general, life sciences has grown significantly as regulations change and they require that people be able to understand and digest medical education and medical information in their own language. There's been a strong demand for that. Also in the legal industry as well. And finally, in manufacturing. So I think as manufacturing companies are trying to diversify away from the U.S. market and trying to seek out new opportunities of growth, they're realizing that the barrier to entry into selling in other countries isn't that big. But of course, one of those hurdles is translations, and so they come to us for that.
Fantastic. Interesting. So behind every successful business owner, behind every successful entrepreneur, there's a story. There must be a story of how you ended up in this line of work. Tell us a little bit about your journey there.
Oh, gosh. Basically, I suppose you can say it started actually when I was very young. So the company, it was actually established in 1936 by a woman named Frieda Berg, and she was a German patent translator. And my father was a refugee from Italy during World War II. And so when he came to the U.S., one of the jobs he had was a translator. And around when I was 2 years old, he bought the business. And so I've kind of been aware of the business and been sort of been a part of it my whole life. But actually, my intent wasn't to work in the business. My intent was to have my own business. I was very much into biology, science, math, and things like that growing up. And so my idea was to eventually do something in that sphere. And then fast forward a couple of decades, and I was living in London. I was a management consultant for pharmaceutical companies, and my father calls me and says, "Hey, I'm looking to retire. I'm thinking of selling the business. What's your opinion?" And I thought, oh my gosh, this business is huge opportunity. And we're driven by globalization. It's a very unique and interesting industry with a lot of opportunity. And he's like, well, if you're interested, you're going to have to move back to Chicago and basically spend more time with the family, and I was happy to do that. So
you're going to have to spend more time with the family. It's a fascinating story, and the story of how many family businesses end up continuing on. I certainly can relate, and that's for a longer conversation. But many of us, I know, share that story of having plans of never ending up in the business, but plans change as life goes on. So it's interesting, and it sounds like the business is going well. And of course, before the end of the segment, we'll make sure that our listeners can get a hold of you and learn more about the work that you do. But in the meantime, we're chatting with Angelo Passalacqua, and appreciate you joining us here on Get Down to Business. So you work in translation. You're helping businesses go global. You work with a number of interesting industries. Do you work with a number of interesting languages? Tell us a little bit about the languages that your firm can help with.
Sure. Yes. So there's probably like 10 languages that are requested the most frequently. In no particular order: Portuguese, Russian, French, Italian, German, all the common ones, Arabic, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, etc. But we work a lot with hospitals, and hospitals deal with a lot of immigrants and refugees, and so you get a lot of requests for obscure languages like Dari, Kurdish, Hmong, and languages like that. Each year, actually, we translate between 80 to 90 different languages. So we really have a very broad spectrum. So it's very rare, very rare. In fact, I only know of one example where we were requested to translate something and we weren't able to. I think the request was Navajo. It was medical technical Navajo. And
wow.
we didn't have anyone. Yeah.
Shame on you. You didn't have anybody medical technical Navajo. Seriously. Oh my gosh. How many languages do you speak?
I speak one okay, then two others, and then two others that I've sort of picked up along the way. My mother's Colombian, and so I grew up speaking. Actually, Spanish was my first language until I started going to school, and then it quickly became English. And then I used to live in China, and so I learned Mandarin while I was there.
Wow. My father is fond of saying that he is deficient in 3 languages. So I know how that is. So it sounds like most of the clients that Burg Translating that you're dealing with are businesses, and you're working with some interesting businesses, including in healthcare, which is a fascinating industry, and I'm not surprised about the diverse needs, all kidding aside, in many, many, many different languages, including Navajo, which, again, healthcare, you're working with a number of different clientele. But what about individuals? If somebody had a letter that they dug up in their safety deposit box in a foreign language, is that something that your team can provide some help with?
Yeah. It's not very common, but we get a good amount of traffic from our website, and so I think, for example, a lot of international students, when they need their transcripts from their their high school or the university overseas, they need it translated into English for a local university. They seek us out. Marriage certificates, all sorts of immigration documents. We do a lot of work with immigration lawyers, and so we get a lot of referrals from immigration lawyers. We get a small amount of work, but yeah.
Interesting stuff. So you're privy to a lot of interesting stories, a lot of unique individuals, and a lot of unique businesses. So once again, Angelo Passalacqua, we appreciate you joining us here on Get Down to Business. I want to make sure our listeners can find you. Of course, you're all over on the web. But in the meantime, how can our listeners find out more about the work that you do, and possibly discuss opportunities to work together on how their important documents in Navajo and many other more common languages can be translated?
Yeah, sure. I guess the easiest way is to check out our website. It's burgtranslations.com. That's BURG translations.com. Or they can feel free to call us at 312-263-3379. There's always someone in the office, and we're always available.
Fantastic. Well, we appreciate you joining us here on Get Down to Business, show all about small business jobs and entrepreneurship. Would love to check back in with you again and follow your story. story of a family business, story of how you are working with other businesses. So as always, we appreciate your time. Get Down to Business is powered by Tandem HR, your solution center. You can find them online at tandemhr.com or give them a call at 630-928-0510, 630-928-0510. Coming up, we got more tips, advice, and information for all you business owners. You don't want to miss a minute of this show. All about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. Again, fascinating guests coming right up after the break. Don't miss it. Don't touch that dial, Chicago. Get Down to Business returns after this quick break.
We're so excited about